If you want to keep your gun rights, then you better wake up. I'm David Ahmed. As the Vice President of Open Carry Texas, I've been fighting for our gun rights for almost 10 years now. And if there's one thing I've learned about the gun haters, it's this. They are never, ever going to quit. They're never going to respect our rights. They're never going to admit what the Second Amendment actually says. And they are never going to give up on what I believe is their ultimate goal of total gun confiscation. And yes, that means all the shotguns and revolvers too. You know, if you listen to people, if you really listen, let them talk, listen to what they say, watch their actions, pay attention, read between the lines, and really let yourself see and hear, most people will tell you what their bad intentions truly are. State of New York gets their concealed carry law thrown out. What do? They go right back to the drawing board. They craft another law that's basically the same as the old one that just got thrown out and put it right back on the books. State of Washington's about to pass a litany of gun control crap. Illinois, we all know what they did. Michigan is about to do the same thing. They just never, ever, ever stop because they have no respect for our rights. They have no respect. None. They don't care that it's a natural right. They don't care that it's a God-given right. They don't care that it's a constitutional right. They have no respect for it whatsoever. And their own words prove that to us. Any of this crap sound familiar?
I'm the only candidate on this stage calling for a ban and buyback of every single assault weapon in America.
So to gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo. You're right if you have an assault weapon. The fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47.
Now we've had this shooting in Nashville, and instead of talking about things that might actually work, all they can say is stuff like this.
And how many lives will be shattered before we have the courage to do what Scotland did, what Australia did, what New Zealand did, what other great democracies do?
And just exactly what did Scotland and Australia and New Zealand do? Bans and confiscation. Forced confiscation. There wasn't any opting out of it. There were no grandfather clauses. They just, because they don't have a Second Amendment, they just passed a law and said, you better turn them in or we're going to come get them. But don't take my word for it. Go Google it. Look that up for yourself. The scariest thing of all is we've got people, judges in courtrooms that think exactly that way. Here's a video clip that I'll bet you haven't seen, and it'll scare you to death.
It was a letter published in the New York Times after the school shooting at Parkland that sent shockwaves around the nation. A retired Supreme Court justice calling for the end of the Second Amendment.
What 98-year-old retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens did was write a letter to the editor of the New York Times. But in his letter, Justice Stevens was calling for more than gun control.
Do you remember specifically what you wrote in that letter?
Yes, I recommended that the country repeal the Second Amendment because the amendment is vested a couple of centuries ago.
You don't feel the Second Amendment guarantees the individual citizen the right to bear arms?
No.
Why?
Well, I don't think it does.
By the way, not the only Supreme Court justice who took on the Second Amendment. Former Chief Justice Warren Burger, a conservative Nixon appointee, also famously once said that if he were writing the Bill of Rights, there wouldn't be a Second Amendment.
Did you hear that? A retired Supreme Court justice calling for a repeal of the Second Amendment, and another one saying that if he'd been in charge of the Bill of Rights, there wouldn't have been a Second Amendment in the first place. What else do you need to hear, folks? I don't need to hear anything more. The proof, the writing is on the wall. The proof is there for me to see. I'm not a fool. I know exactly what they're up to. And if they have to do it a little bit at a time, which is what they're going to try to do because they can't get it all at once, then that's what they'll do. They have no respect for our rights. They just don't care. They literally just don't care. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to take our guns. And that's the bottom line. What are we going to do about it? Let me make this very clear. I'm not calling for any kind of violence. That's the last thing in the world we need to do right now. What I am calling for is defiance. blunt, bold, and public. We need to get in their face and let them know in no uncertain terms that we will never give up our guns. I'm tired of them trying to do this. I'm sick and tired of talking about it. I'm fed up. And I bet you're fed up too. So today, we're announcing the creation of a brand new nationwide gun rights organization called the American Gun Foundation. And the purpose of the American Gun Foundation is to boldly, bluntly, defiantly, and publicly say, it doesn't matter what you do, we will never give up our guns. We don't care how many elections you win, we will never give up our guns. We don't care how many laws you pass, we will never give up our guns. We don't care how many judges you can get to ignore what the Constitution actually says and to substitute what you just wish the Constitution said. We don't care how much of that you do. We will never give up our guns, and we will organize the resistance to that state by state, county by county, if we have to. But you are not taking our gun rights, and you are not taking our guns. Period. Now, to get this organization up off the ground, we're going to launch a couple of crowdfunding campaigns. There'll be a link down in the description below. The most important thing here, folks, is to get involved. You know, most people think that Texas had the freest, most or least restrictive gun rights in the whole country. Well, newsflash, up until about 5 years ago, that was exactly, it was the opposite of that. That was not the case. We had to fight tooth and nail to get our gun rights back. When I first joined Open Carry Texas, there was no open carry of handguns at all. Nothing. So what did we do? Well, we took a look at the books, figured out what we could carry, and then we literally began having demonstrations. We called them open carry walks. Flags flying, rifles over our shoulders, walking down the road promoting our gun rights, and I'll be damned, it worked. If you want to change something, you got to get active. You can't just sit there. You got to do something. And here's what this all boils down to. Right now, the Supreme Court actually is on our side. More to the point, the majority of the people on the Supreme Court are honest about what the Second Amendment actually says. There's three of them that are not honest about it. They twist it. They distort it. They interpret it to mean what they want it to mean, instead of taking the words at face value and just honoring what they say. They don't have to like it, but they do have to respect it, and they simply refuse to. Well, just imagine for a second. How would things be right now if Hillary Clinton had beaten Donald Trump? You know, Trump appointed 3 of the judges who now recognize and admit our gun rights. What if Clinton had won that election? What if now, instead of 3 judges that respect our gun rights, we had 3 judges that wanted to gut our gun rights? That's exactly what they would have done. By now, we wouldn't even have a Second Amendment. I mean, it would just, gun rights would be gone. Absolutely gone. Well, it's not going to stay like this forever, folks. It wasn't all that long ago that it wasn't this way. We just got the Heller decision in what, 2008? The pendulum is going to swing back the other way. It always does. It happens every time. When it happens, we have to have an organization that's willing to stand up and say, look, if your ruling is not going to honor the Constitution, then we're not going to honor your ruling. If you want us to respect your decision, judges, then your decision has to respect the Constitution and the honest version of the Constitution. That's another thing we need to make crystal clear to these people. This interpretation business is over with. The Constitution was never meant to be interpreted. It was meant to be taken literally and at face value and simply applied. So all of these people that try to say well-regulated means heavily governed, no, it doesn't. You need to educate yourself. And judges that apply that, judges that say, well, the militia is the National Guard, and well-regulated means it can be heavily regulated by laws. they're simply not respecting what it says because they personally just don't like it. We better put something in place so that 10 years from now, maybe a little longer, but it won't be too long before the pendulum swings back the other way, and now we have judges ruling that all these gun control laws, all these bans, all these whatever the gun haters want to do is perfectly constitutional. We better have something in place to say, no, we will not obey that. We'll defy the hell out of it. It's called civil disobedience. Look up the civil rights movement. They used it pretty effectively. We have to be able to say that to them and to do it boldly and publicly and defiantly. And if necessary, do it state by state and county by county. You can see I'm a little worked up about this. Well, that's because I believe in it. If we're not living in the world that we built, we're living in the world that our parents and grandparents built and gave to us. Well, I don't want my descendants to be without their gun rights because I didn't stand up and do something about it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand up and do something about it. But I'm tired of being nice about it. Now, I'm not talking about getting vulgar and nasty. Look, we're the good guys. We need to act like good guys. But I am talking about every single time Brandon says this.
The idea we still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. It's just sick.
We respond with the fact that a sitting American president has absolutely no respect for the plain English meaning of the words in the Constitution is sick. Just sick. Every time he says,
but guess what? We're going to ban assault weapons again, come hell or high water.
We respond by saying, if you try to take our guns away from us, that's exactly what you're going to get. Hell and high water. Because we're not giving them up. We are just not giving up our rights. Because we won't just be giving up our rights. We'll be giving up our kids' rights and our grandkids and our great-grandkids. Once gun rights are gone, they're never coming back, and we know it. So we're never going to let them be gone. Now, one more time, folks, I want to make this crystal clear. I am not calling for any kind of violence. We're not the crazy ones. We're not the ones with our heads in the sand, refusing to see the truth, admit the facts, and do the hard things that need to be done to put a stop to the problems that we have. And we do have some problems centered around guns, but it's got nothing to do with the guns themselves. It's the criminals that are using the guns. And we're not going to let the gun haters use the criminals as an excuse to take our guns. And we need to say this right out in the open, publicly, proudly. That's why I'm doing this. And because I was with Open Carry Texas for 10 years and we got Texas straightened out, I know that it works. Now, again, to get this thing up off the ground, we're doing a crowdfunding campaign. There's going to be a link down in the description. We'll have a website coming up soon. If you're interested in helping, we need all the help we can get. We really do. There are going to be videos coming out on this channel just about every day. Sometimes there might be more than one a day. I'm going to do a series that I call the debate series. Have you ever noticed that the gun haters will never get up on a stage and debate us, like face to face? They never do it. Well, I know why that is. They'll lose, and they know it, because we have the facts and the truth on our side, and they have the emotions and fairy tale land on their side. And so they don't do it. Well, I got a little surprise for them. I'm going to take video clips of them talking, and I'm going to debate them with their own video clip. You'll get a kick out of it. In any case, if you'd like to help, if you'd like to get involved, stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. This is my first time doing much of anything on YouTube. I really don't know the ropes yet. So whatever you do on a YouTube channel, if you want to contribute and kick a little in to help get this thing going, that would be great. It's definitely going to be needed. And then just stay tuned and get ready to get busy and keep our gun rights forever. Thanks for watching.